Your brain was never designed for this. Have you ever noticed something strange? You can sleep for 8 hours, wake up, and still feel mentally exhausted before the day even starts. You drink coffee. You scroll your phone. You try to push through, but deep down your mind still feels heavy. And most people think the problem is simple. Maybe I just need more motivation. Maybe I'm lazy. Maybe I need better discipline. But what if the real problem isn't laziness at all? What if your brain is overloaded in a way humans were never meant to handle? In the United States and the UK, mental exhaustion has quietly become one of the biggest hidden health problems. According to surveys in both countries, millions of adults report feeling emotionally drained, unable to focus, constantly distracted, and mentally tired almost every day. And here's the scary part. Many people experiencing mental exhaustion don't even realize it, because modern exhaustion doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like opening your phone for just 2 minutes and losing an hour, reading the same sentence 5 times because your brain won't focus, feeling irritated by small things, wanting to rest, but not knowing how, or feeling strangely numb even during good moments. This isn't weakness, it's cognitive overload. Your brain is processing more information in a single day than previous generations, handled in weeks. Think about your average morning. Before your feet even touch the floor, your brain may already receive notifications, messages, news, emails, videos, music, advertisements, social, comparison, stress. And your brain treats all of it as stimulation. Every notification is a small interruption. Every interruption forces your brain to switch attention. And every attention switch burns mental energy. Researchers in the UK have compared constant digital interruptions to a form of continuous partial attention. Your brain is never fully focused, but it's never fully resting either. That's why so many people feel tired even after doing nothing. Because scrolling isn't real rest. Your eyes may be resting. Your body may be sitting still, but your nervous system is still active. And over time, your brain starts staying in low-level stress mode all day. Not panic, not crisis, just constant stimulation, like a computer with too many tabs open. Eventually, everything slows down. This is why mental exhaustion often feels confusing. You might still go to work, still function, still smile, but internally, your mind feels crowded. And the worst part? Modern culture rewards mental overload. Being busy is seen as productive. Being constantly available is considered normal. Resting feels guilty. Silence feels uncomfortable. So instead of recovering, people keep consuming more stimulation, more content, more noise, more scrolling, more multitasking, until the brain quietly starts shutting down. That shutdown can appear as brain fog, forgetfulness, low motivation, difficulty making decisions, emotional numbness, poor concentration, and eventually, burnout. But here's what most people never hear. Mental exhaustion is not only caused by working too much, it's also caused by never mentally recovering. There's a huge difference. You can work hard and still feel healthy if your brain regularly experiences recovery. But if your brain never gets silence, never gets deep focus, never gets true rest, exhaustion builds up slowly. And modern technology makes this harder than ever. A study from the United States found that the average person checks their phone dozens, sometimes hundreds of times per day. Not because they need to, because the brain becomes trained to seek stimulation. Tiny bursts of novelty, tiny dopamine rewards, tiny distractions. At first it feels harmless, but over time, constant stimulation weakens your ability to tolerate stillness. That's why many people now feel uncomfortable doing nothing. Even waiting in line becomes difficult without checking a screen. The brain becomes addicted to input, and when the brain never pauses, it never fully resets. So what can you do about it? The solution is not disappearing into the woods. You don't need to quit your job. You don't need a perfect morning routine. You need to reduce mental friction. Here's a simple reset strategy used by many therapists and mental performance experts. The 10-minute cognitive reset for just 10 minutes. No phone, no music, no videos, no multitasking. Just sit, walk, or breathe quietly. At first, your brain may resist. You may feel bored, restless, uncomfortable. That's normal, because your nervous system has adapted to constant stimulation. But after several days, something interesting happens. Your thoughts begin slowing down, your attention improves, your emotional tension decreases, and slowly, your brain starts recovering energy again. Another powerful strategy is reducing unnecessary decisions. Mental exhaustion isn't only about effort, it's also about decision fatigue. Every small decision uses cognitive energy. What to wear, what to eat, which message to answer, what video to watch, what task to start. When your brain handles too many micro-decisions all day, mental fatigue builds faster. That's why successful people often simplify routines. Not because routines are magical, because reducing decisions protects mental energy. And here's another important truth. Your brain recovers best during deep focus, not endless multitasking. When you focus on one thing at a time, your brain uses energy more efficiently. But when you constantly switch tasks, your brain wastes energy reloading attention over and over. This is called attention residue. Part of your brain remains stuck on the previous task. So even when you move forward, mentally, part of you stays behind. And eventually, exhaustion appears. This is why one of the fastest ways to feel mentally calmer is surprisingly simple. Do fewer things at once. One screen, one task, one conversation, one moment. Not because simplicity is trendy, because your nervous system needs breathing room. And maybe this entire time, you weren't weak, you weren't lazy, you were mentally overloaded. And overload can be healed, not overnight, but gradually. The moment you stop feeding your brain endless noise, your mind finally gets the chance to breathe again. Why your mind never truly feels rested. There's a strange feeling many people experience today, even during weekends, even after sleeping, even during vacations. Their brain still feels tired, not physically exhausted, mentally drained. And most people assume the solution is simple. Sleep more, take a break, watch Netflix, scroll your phone. But here's the problem. Your mind cannot recover properly if the thing exhausting it never stops. And for millions of people in the USA and UK, the real problem is constant mental consumption. Your brain is always absorbing something. Videos, notifications, conversations, stress, comparison, information, noise. Even when you think you're relaxing, your brain may still be working. That's why modern exhaustion feels different from normal tiredness. Years ago, people mostly became tired from physical effort. Today, people become tired from nonstop mental activity. And your brain pays attention to more than you realize. For example, imagine this. You wake up and immediately check your phone. You read stressful news. You see people succeeding online. You answer messages. You think about work. You compare your life. You worry about money. You consume content all day. None of these moments seem huge individually. But together, they create nonstop cognitive pressure. Your nervous system never fully relaxes. Researchers in both the United States and the UK have found increasing levels of chronic stress, attention fatigue, and emotional burnout connected to digital overstimulation. And one of the biggest reasons is this. The human brain was not designed for endless input. Your brain evolved in slower environments, quiet environments, smaller communities, longer periods of silence, natural rhythms. Now compare that to modern life. Most people consume more information in one day than previous generations experienced in weeks. Your nervous system never gets a true pause. And eventually, exhaustion becomes your normal state. This is why so many people now say things like, "I can't focus anymore. My brain feels foggy. I'm tired all the time. I don't feel motivated." But often the problem is not motivation. It's mental overload. And overload slowly damages your ability to recover. Another hidden cause of exhaustion is unfinished stress cycles. Most people experience stress, but never release it. Your body enters stress mode during arguments, deadlines, financial pressure, social anxiety, overthinking. But after the stressful moment ends, many people immediately return to screens, work, or distractions. The nervous system never fully resets, so the body stays in low-level survival mode. That survival mode changes everything. Sleep becomes lighter. Attention becomes weaker. Small problems feel bigger. Emotions feel heavier. And eventually, even simple tasks feel exhausting. This is why some people feel mentally tired after doing almost nothing. Because exhaustion is not always about activity. Sometimes it's accumulated tension. And one major source of modern tension is comparison. Social media quietly teaches people that they should always be improving. More successful, more attractive, more productive, more disciplined. Your brain constantly receives the message, you are not enough yet, even if nobody says it directly. And over time, this creates invisible emotional pressure. In the UK, younger adults report increasing anxiety connected to online comparison and digital pressure. In the USA, mental health experts continue, warning about the emotional effects of constant social media exposure. Because comparison doesn't only affect confidence, it drains mental energy. Your nervous system becomes trapped in constant evaluation. Am I behind? Am I failing? Am I wasting my life? That mental noise becomes exhausting. So what actually helps? Not extreme self-improvement. Not becoming perfectly productive. The first step is reducing unnecessary mental input. You don't need to consume information every second. Your brain needs silence too. One simple method psychologists often recommend is creating intentional recovery periods. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, maybe 30. No scrolling, no content, no multitasking. Just allowing your nervous system to slow down. At first, this may feel uncomfortable because many brains today are addicted to stimulation. Silence feels unfamiliar, but slowly your mind begins calming itself again. Another powerful recovery tool is physical movement. Not because exercise magically solves everything, because movement helps the nervous system release stored stress. Walking, stretching, breathing deeply, sunlight. These simple things regulate the brain more than people realize. And here's another important truth. Recovery is not laziness. Many exhausted people feel guilty for resting. But your brain is not a machine. Attention needs recovery. Emotions need processing. The nervous system needs safety. Without recovery, exhaustion becomes chronic. And eventually, your body forces you to slow down through burnout. That's why protecting your mental energy is not weakness. It's maintenance. And maybe the reason your brain feels tired all the time is not because you're weak, but because your nervous system has been overloaded for too long, without real recovery. The moment you stop feeding your brain endless noise, your mind finally gets a chance to breathe again. The fastest way to get your mental energy back. Most people don't notice mental exhaustion until their brain starts shutting down. At first, the signs are subtle. You forget simple things. You lose focus faster. Small tasks feel overwhelming. You feel emotionally numb for no clear reason. And eventually, even things you used to enjoy start feeling heavy. That's when many people panic. They think something is wrong with them. But often, the real problem is much simpler. Your nervous system has been overloaded for too long without proper recovery. And modern life makes this incredibly common. In both the USA and UK, millions of adults report feeling constantly stressed, mentally drained, and emotionally exhausted almost every day. Not because humans suddenly became weaker, but because modern environments constantly demand attention. Your brain rarely gets silence anymore. Notifications, emails, short videos, breaking news, social pressure, work stress, constant comparison. Every day feels mentally crowded, and your nervous system reacts to all of it, even when you don't consciously notice. This is important to understand. Your brain is not designed to stay stimulated all day long. It needs cycles. focus and recovery, effort and rest, input and silence. But modern culture encourages nonstop stimulation. People wake up scrolling, eat while scrolling, work while multitasking, relax while consuming more content. The brain never fully powers down, and over time, mental fatigue becomes chronic. That's why real recovery is not just doing nothing. Recovery means calming the nervous system. And one of the fastest ways to do that is reducing stimulation. Not forever, just intentionally. For example, try spending the first 30 minutes of your morning without your phone. No notifications, no news, no social media. At first, this may feel uncomfortable because many people's brains are now conditioned to seek stimulation immediately after waking up. But when you stop flooding your brain with input first thing in the morning, something changes. Your thoughts become quieter, your stress decreases, your attention becomes more stable. This is because your nervous system finally has space to wake up naturally. Another powerful recovery method is deep focus. Modern attention is broken. Most people constantly switch between messages, emails, videos, notifications, and distractions. And every switch drains mental energy. Researchers call this attention residue. Part of your brain stays stuck on the previous task, so your mind never fully focuses anywhere. That's why deep focus feels calming. Reading, writing, walking, cooking, drawing. When you focus on one thing, mental noise decreases. Your nervous system finally experiences order instead of chaos. Another huge factor is sleep. Modern habits quietly destroy recovery. Phones at night, screens before bed, endless stimulation. But your brain needs darkness and calm to reset properly. Researchers in the USA and UK continue warning that poor sleep is rising because of stress and digital overstimulation. And poor sleep affects everything: memory, mood, focus, motivation, emotional control, which creates even more exhaustion. Then the cycle repeats. You feel tired, so you seek more stimulation. But stimulation weakens recovery, and exhaustion gets worse. That's why healing starts with simple habits. Better sleep, less screen time at night, more movement, more sunlight, more quiet moments. Not because they're trendy, because biology responds to them. And one of the most powerful recovery tools is movement. Not extreme workouts, simple movement. Walking, stretching, deep breathing, sunlight. These help release stress from the nervous system. Because burnout isn't only mental, it's physical too. And here's what many people need to hear. You do not need to earn rest. Modern culture glorifies overworking. People feel guilty for slowing down, guilty for resting, guilty for saying no. But your nervous system only responds to pressure. And when pressure never stops, exhaustion becomes inevitable. This is not weakness. It's biology. Mental energy is limited, and every distraction, unresolved stress, and nonstop stimulation drains it. But recovery slowly restores it. That's why small daily changes matter. One quiet morning, one focused hour, one walk without your phone, one calm evening, small moments, big recovery. Because maybe your mind was never broken. Maybe it was simply overwhelmed for too long. And the moment your nervous system finally gets space to breathe, recovery begins.